You're listening to CherryPickin Entertainment.
Throw me the ball and watch what I do with it.
You are now tuned into the CherryPickin podcast with your host, Andre Cherry.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the CherryPickin podcast. I got another brand new, exciting episode for you all to enjoy today. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the Heisman Trophy finalists, and then we're also going to dive into the Army-Navy game, which is going to be played this weekend. So we'll go ahead, dive right in. We'll start with the Heisman Trophy, and the ceremony for the Heisman Trophy will be held this weekend. And the four finalists were recently named this week, which include quarterbacks Cam Ward from Miami, Dillon Gabriel from Oregon, running back Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, and two-way player Travis Hunter from Colorado. Last year, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels won the Heisman and has gone on to have a solid rookie season in the NFL with the Washington Commanders. The previous three winners of the Heisman Trophy have been quarterbacks, but I feel as if the Heisman will go to either Ashton Jeanty or Travis Hunter this season. I don't have a Heisman vote, but that would be amazing if I did eventually at some point. That would be a bucket list item for me, someone that has loved college football his entire life. It's something that I've wanted to work around college football. I wanted to play college football, but also wanted to work around college football, which is why I've done this podcast. So if I ever got the opportunity to have a Heisman vote, I would definitely cherish it. I do get some voting capabilities through the FWAA membership that I'm a part of as a football journalist, but a Heisman vote, I don't have that yet, and someday it would be amazing if I ever got that opportunity. But I can always just have fun and just do this for fun and just tell you what I feel on this podcast. So while I believe Cam Ward and Dillon Gabriel have had great seasons, I feel as if what we've seen from Jeanty and Travis Hunter this season is really special. So I will dive into what makes those two guys special right now. So we'll start with Ashton Jeanty, the Boise State running back who leads all of college football with 2,497 yards on 344 carries, which breaks out to 7.3 yards per attempt for a total of 29 touchdowns on the ground. He's got the rare combination of size, quickness, and speed that makes him really special and really effective. His vision is insane, and he's durable as hell. He's got a low center of gravity, and his legs are huge. He's got some massive thighs. He kind of reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew. He played at UCLA back in the day, and he went on to have a good professional career with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But he's probably more compact than MJD. He's taller than MJD. He's bigger. He's faster. But the fact that he's got those thighs that are so huge and that low center of gravity, you can't bring him down at all with an arm tackle. Usually when you make contact with him, that actually, I feel like, gives him more power. I think he's extra dangerous after contact has been made. Jeanty doesn't go down easily, and it feels as if he's able to score a touchdown every time he gets the ball. I haven't seen that game-changer ability from a running back since the time of Reggie Bush, in terms of all those skills kind of coming together in a way that makes it obvious to everyone watching that he's the best player on the field. Jeanty had 32 carries for 209 yards and a touchdown he got on a 75-yard run during Boise State's 21-7 victory over UNLV in the Mountain West Championship game. And for his effort, he led his team to its first Group of 5 college football playoff berth this season. So we'll see Boise State again this season in the playoff, which will be great to watch. Jeanty is a special talent, especially in this day and age where we haven't seen running backs dominate the game like they used to. Or at least I don't feel as if we've seen that consistently. Like, this guy is special. I know we've seen Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State even a season ago do some crazy things and put up some crazy numbers, but we haven't seen a player like Jeanty who is almost like you're watching a video game in real life. Like, it's that Reggie Bush effect where he has the ability to just do some special things on the field. So I truly feel as if he's deserving of the honor of being a Heisman Trophy finalist. I think his body of work this season would make him a Heisman winner any other year. but I feel like it may be close between he and Colorado's Travis Hunter. This season as a wide receiver, Hunter caught 92 balls for 1,152 yards receiving and 15 total touchdowns. On defense, Hunter had 31 tackles, 11 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, and 4 interceptions. Travis Hunter, while at the University of Colorado, played a total of 1,102 snaps during this season, with 475 snaps on offense, 631 snaps on defense, and 32 on special teams. This averages out to 114.7 snaps per game. Hunter's snap count is unprecedented for a college football player. Some would argue he's probably one of the greatest players to ever play the sport. Honestly, he plays more snaps per game than most other players, averaging 120 snaps per game. This is about 230% more than the average college football player. So that's insane that Travis Hunter has that versatility, has that skill to be able to do both. He rarely comes out of games. I mean, this dude's got to be insane in terms of his cardio, his diet, his regimen to keep him healthy, to keep him on the field. I mean, that alone is amazing. Like, we really can't understate what he's doing at a high level in Power 5 football. He's able to dominate the game like that. I mean, that's really rare and really special. Also, if it hasn't been mentioned at all, Hunter is on the cover of the new NCAA football game, which had been dead for over a decade. I feel like that has to be called out because it's a huge honor to even be in the game, but the fact that he was on the cover is huge and just goes to show how special he is to have received that privilege. I think it's going to be extremely close, and while I was a running back once in my lifetime, once a running back, always a running back, I think what Genty is doing is historic, and he would deserve the Heisman Trophy, and if nothing else, he should be a lock for the Doak Walker Award. But if I'm being real, I think Travis Hunter should win the award just due to the fact that he's playing at a high level on both sides of the ball and is doing something that we haven't seen done before in a long, long time, since the days of Charles Woodson at Michigan, who played both ways. Woodson is the only player to win the Heisman Trophy while going two ways, and I feel as if Hunter will join him as the only two players to have played offense and defense and won the Heisman Trophy. Either way, I'm excited for the ceremony, and I will tune into the show after the Army-Navy game concludes, which is a perfect segue. I'll talk about the Army-Navy game, which is this weekend, and the game will be played in Landover, Maryland. This game marks the 125th meeting between these two service academy rivals, with Navy holding a 62-55 and 7 lead over Army. So 62 wins, 55 losses, 7 ties. This also feels like the first time in a while that both Army and Navy have had great seasons, with Army finishing its season with an 11-1 record, while Navy posted 8 wins to 3 losses. These two teams have squared off against one another since 1930, which is crazy, and have met every single year. The Army-Navy game is one of the most storied rivalries in all of sport, which includes the collegiate and professional ranks. Navy dominated Army for 14 straight seasons back in 2002 through 2015, but Army has won 6 out of the last 8 meetings, including wins these last 2 seasons. Now, I attended the Army-Navy game back in 2022 when Army won 20-17 after 2 overtimes. Surprisingly, this game had never gone to overtime before in its storied history, so I felt special that I was able to see something that had never happened before. Never seen an overtime before for the Army-Navy game. So I will always remember, if I'm not able to make it back to another game, that I saw it back in 2022 and I saw it go to overtime. Army won that game after 2 overtimes, which was crazy, 20-17. And it was just a cool moment and something that I'll always cherish, for real. This year's game, though, marks a special meeting for these two teams as Army is coming off its first conference championship as a new member of the American Conference with Navy. In that game, we're talking about the conference championship game where Army was playing Tulane. Army quarterback Bryson Daly rushed for 4 touchdowns in the 35-14 win over Tulane. After the game, Army enjoyed the moment but already had its sights set on the upcoming matchup against Navy. This is the biggest game of the year for both of these teams. They look forward to this game every single year. Like, this is the Super Bowl of what they do. And quarterback Bryson Daly is going to be a monster to try and defend, as the Black Knights quarterback rushed for 100 yards in 10 straight games en route to leading his team to an impressive 11-1 record. He's rushed for 1,480 yards this season, and certainly credit to his offensive line for clearing the way for Daly, but it's a shame that he wasn't one of the 4 finalists for the Heisman Trophy this season. His head coach, Jeff Monken, believes Daly should have been there. And I quote, "I don't have a vote in it, and they're not going to listen to me, but he belongs down there," Monken said. And I know that the college football world would be thrilled to see that. And how many times in history is there going to be an academy player that legitimately could go down there and everybody feels like that guy belongs? You know what? This is that time in history. That guy belongs down there. That's what I think, end quote. And that is awesome. I mean, honestly, somebody that is in the service academy, they already have a tough schedule as it is on top of football duties. I mean, they've got other things that they've got going on en route to being in the Army after they graduate. So it's, he's able to juggle that schedule while also playing at a very high level. I mean, that's commendable, honestly. And I'm surprised that he missed the cut, if I'm being real. And I don't even know, how would it work? Would he join the Heisman Trophy virtually? Like, they just finished the game and then maybe he finds a way to New York City like very quickly after the game. But I've never seen that before. I mean, like I said, we've never really been in this situation before where we've had a service academy finalist, at least in recent history. But I think it could have been a cool moment. Like, he plays the Army-Navy game and then he finds a way to New York City to be a part of the ceremony. That would have been dope. And he does belong. I agree with head coach Jeff Monken. I think Daly belongs to be there, especially after going 11-1. I mean, they should be in the playoffs, if I'm being real. Like, for real. Like, they should be in the playoffs. And we'll get into that maybe on another podcast. I'll talk about the playoffs selections. But that's a great season for Army this year. And if we take a look at Navy, the midshipmen had a solid season this year as well. They rattled off 6 straight wins before taking an L against 12th-ranked Notre Dame and then a loss to Rice the following week. Navy also got blanked by that Tulane squad that made it to the American final. They blanked Navy by a score of 35-0, which is wild. But despite those losses, Navy did very well for itself and had its first winning season since 2019, where it had posted an 11-2 record that season. Navy also has a dynamic quarterback playing this season, and his name is Blake Horvath. He's thrown for over 1,100 yards with 11 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions, while also leading the team in rushing with 895 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. On defense, look out for linebacker Colin Ramos, who has been an anchor for Navy all season. He leads the team with 46 solo tackles, 8 tackle for losses, and also registered 3 sacks this season. He will be all over the field when Army and Navy face off this weekend, but I think Army will make Navy's life difficult in this upcoming game. I don't have a prediction for the game yet, but I'll be pumped to watch this game regardless. And like I said, if you're a sports fan, I recommend you go to this game at least once in your lifetime. You will not be disappointed. You will enjoy it. It's a sight to be seen. Seriously, it's so much fun. But with that said, I'm going to take a quick time out, but on the other side of this break, I'll share audio from my experience at the 2022 Army-Navy game, just to give you some perspective on what the event is really like. Maybe it'll help you make that decision one of these years, or maybe even this year, to go and try and attend that event. It is fantastic. I cannot wait for the game to come back to Philly in a few years, and hopefully I'll have a chance to go to that game at that time. But I'm telling you, it is a blast, and if you're a football fan or a sports fan, you owe it to yourself to make your way down to the Army-Navy game. You will not be disappointed. But with that, I'm going to take a quick time out. I appreciate you listening to this podcast episode. Thank you, my friends. And on the other side of this break, I'll give you some perspective about the Army-Navy game that I hope you enjoy. So don't go anywhere. The Cherry Pickin' Podcast will be right back.
Want to know what life is really like after the game is all over? Real athletes are here to share their true stories of adversity and triumph every week on After Orange Slices. Even if you don't like sports, pro athletes, former college stars, celebrities, coaches, public speakers, doctors, and all kinds of experts join the show, and there's a little bit of something for everybody. Join me, Bridget, for a slice of inspiration, plus your everyday sports news sprinkled in. New episodes every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Basketball is back. And with that comes joy, tension, heartbreak, buzzer beaters, and elation. It's time to be courtside for every one of those moments, no matter where your team is playing. Short Court specializes in making replica and custom basketball courts for your home, office, sports cave to decorate your walls with all those memories. If you have a picture, we can recreate it. Featured in the 2021 UniWatch Holiday Gift Guide, short courts are made using real wood. We frame and give them an epoxy finish to protect the new centerpiece of your memorabilia collection. With previous customers including Northern Kentucky University, Southern Utah University, 199 Apparel, The Perimeter Podcast with Adam Morrison, and many more celebrating the careers and retirements of their coaches, it's time you visit shortcourts.com for more info and a gallery of our work, or you can send us an email, info@shortcourts.com. Be sure to find us on social media, just search for Short Courts. It's time to bring the home court home.
I had the opportunity a few weeks ago to attend the Army-Navy game in Philadelphia. I went all in. I was like, you know what? This is the last time that the game will be played in Philly for a few years. Why not book a ticket? So I looked on StubHub or SeatGeek, one of those sites, and so I found a nice seat in the back of the end zone. The game is held at Lincoln Financial Field. That's where the Philadelphia Eagles play, if you're an NFL fan. So the game is played when they come to Philly at that location. There's a row of seats right behind the end zone that are called the Touchdown Club. And I splurged a little bit because I really never buy anything for myself. But I was like, you know what? If this is the year that I'm going to attend the Army-Navy game, I got to go all out. I got to go big because 5 years from now, I would assume that I'll still be in Philly, but you don't know. You don't know where you will be a year from now. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? Why not get these tickets? Because I'm that type of person who doesn't like to wait on things. Meaning, if I have an opportunity to do something now or to take advantage of something now and experience something that I've never experienced before, I'm not one that will wait. I'll wait next year. No, that's not really who I am. So I was like, you know what? This is the year. I'm going to do it. And honestly, I just bought my own ticket. Like, I just went alone. I didn't know anybody else that was willing or able to go to this game with me. And fortunately, my partner and my daughter, they had a birthday party or a holiday party to attend on that Saturday. So they could do their thing and Daddy could do his thing for, half a day. And it was a blast. I did not regret the decision at all. It was money well spent. I splurged and sat in nice seats in the back of the end zone with other, I guess you could say, diehard fans or honestly, the people around me were veterans of the Army. And so they were rooting pretty hard for the Army. And, there were a little family next to me on the left side. And then like a young couple and their friend on the right side of me. And we had a good time. It was a blast. And I hope to just kind of walk you through what that experience was like. I've got a lot of content, a lot of pictures and videos that I plan to post on my website as well. So you can see what I experienced that day, give you a little behind the scenes tour or behind the scenes look at the Army-Navy game if you've never attended before. But it was quite a day. I had a blast. So I'll just walk you through real quick here what that experience was like. So again, I bought the ticket. I did a little bit of searching and price shopping on the secondary market through SeatGeek and through StubHub. I think I eventually found a cheaper price for my seat on SeatGeek and was able to pull the trigger on that. And that was a pretty cool experience, pretty easy experience. But what I didn't know was that with these seats that I had purchased, I needed to have some sort of additional badge on me or some sort of like a pass that hung around my neck, like a lanyard. So the day of the event, I take the train, the Market Frankfurt line from my house all the way to the stadium, or all the way to City Hall. Got off City Hall stop, got on the Broad Street subway line, took the Broad Street line express all the way to the stadiums. Pretty easy process. I mean, public transportation is the way to go for any sort of event at Wells Fargo or in that sports complex area. Like, that's the best bet, just hopping on the subway and going. No issues really there at all. That was fine. I got to the stadium around, I want to say, it might have been like 12:30. I think the gates opened up at like 11 or 11:30 a.m. And there's so much stuff going on in the stadium, in and around the stadium. You have people tailgating. You see Army, Navy folks kind of congregating amongst each other. So Army folks, Navy folks. But you would also get some people intermingling with Army, Navy. So it wasn't truly segregated in that way, but it sticks out pretty easily, the Army and Navy colors, where you see kind of where people are. And people are friendly. People were very polite. It wasn't like a Phillies game or an Eagles game where you have constant ribbing and people just being intolerable to one another. I mean, it was pretty pleasant, even though these guys are diehard Army, diehard Navy. You know, they may have served in the Army, Navy, respectively. Like, they've got some pretty strong bloodlines in each of these respective branches of the service. So it was really special just being immersed in that, in Army, Navy. I'm a military brat. My siblings and I grew up in the military. We had a military household. My parents were both in the Air Force. So we've lived around and experienced things through being a military kids, but I've never experienced what it's felt like to be at an Army-Navy game. So I have a lot of respect for the military just from being raised in that type of household. My partner, she's also a military brat as well. Both her parents served as well. So, like, we understand that sacrifice that is made, and we don't take it lightly, and just have a lot of respect. So just being able to go to this game, having that little bit of familiarity with the military was special. I didn't really have a strong rooting interest in this game, Army or Navy. My sister, my brother-in-law, he is serving in the Navy. He's stationed down in the base at Annapolis. So I would say my rooting interest probably tied closely to Navy, and just the proximity of where we are in Philly to Annapolis, Maryland. I'm probably more connected to Navy than I am Army. So definitely would say that I was leaning more towards Navy, but I really was just trying to go to the game as a spectator. Really didn't have a strong pull either way. I just was glad to be there. The people that were rooting for Army, Navy, they would let you hear it. Like, they were passionate about their team, but it didn't trend into disrespectful territory at all. Whereas if you were going to an Eagles game, I've heard people give it to opposing fans. I went to a preseason game. It was the Colts versus the Eagles, and I was going with a girlfriend of mine, and she was in town visiting, and she was a Colts fan, so she was wearing her Colts gear. She had like Colts jersey and wearing blue and white, and she was decked out from head to toe in Colts gear, Indianapolis Colts. And at a preseason game, these teams aren't even in the same conference. They're not even in the same division. But in a preseason game, the Eagles were giving it to this woman hard. A lot of trash talking, a lot of cursing, a lot of foul mouth language that honestly made me blush. It made me blush. It made me uncomfortable. And I certainly wouldn't bring my daughter to an Eagles game ever. But it was just crazy that these other women were giving it to my friend, my girlfriend. They were giving her the business because she was wearing a Colts gear. It was crazy. And that's just how passionate these fans get in Philly. That's the knock that you hear, is that these Philly fans are passionate about their sports teams, borderline on being kind of rude, being aggressive. So that's not what you got at an Army-Navy game in Philly. It was playful. It was, but it didn't cross the line. It was playful, good ribbing here and there, but like it never got uncomfortable. And everyone's just there to have a good time, and a lot of people are, got ties to Army, Navy. Maybe they served, or their kids are serving, or whatever the case may be. So there's like a respect there that is not existent at a regular college football game, or maybe even NFL game. Like it's like a class above. It felt good being there amongst these people that I've got a lot of respect for. They've served before, or in the case of the guys playing the actual game, I mean, these guys are going to serve our country after they get out of the academies, the respective academies. So when I got to the stadium, it was cool because there were different sorts of activations, I'll call it, that you could experience. So USAA, they sponsor the event every year, it feels like, and this year they had the 100-year experience. And so you could really experience a lot of the history and sights and sounds of the Army-Navy game throughout the years and decades. That was cool. I didn't get a chance to experience that at all, but I saw it. There were a lot of lines for things, and honestly, I felt like getting there around like 12:30. That was too late in the day to get there. I should have gotten there a lot earlier, which would have been cool, because in and around the stadium, there were just so many different things you could look at, you could experience, you could touch. They had some military equipment out there in front of the stadium, which was cool. Like they had some Navy ships or Navy boats that were outside the stadium. They also had some tanks that were outside the stadium, which was cool for Army. So it was cool. Like a friendly little rivalry. It's like whatever Army does, Navy had to do too. So like it was never as if Army or Navy had the upper hand on the other side, which I thought was cool. Like it really is a playful, to me on the outside, it's a playful rivalry. I know it's very serious. They take it very seriously, which is cool. But it never felt disrespectful, or it never made me feel uncomfortable. And then it was also cool just to hear the marching bands for both Army and Navy kind of make their way around the stadium and through the stadium. They were present. They were vocal. Like you could hear them everywhere you went within the stadium concourse area, and that was cool. Like I passed them as I'm trying to find my seats. They are marching through like the inside concourse area, playing fight songs and such. So that was awesome. It's something you don't typically see at a sporting event, at a regular like college football game. It was just like a full blown experience, and there like aren't enough words to describe the feeling and the excitement that I got by attending my first Army-Navy game. I think the coolest thing that I experienced for that game, and I'm fortunate that I made it to my seat in time, because the seats that I had purchased, I didn't really know how to get to the bottom of the field, because it was literally on the field. And I walked the entire length of the stadium, maybe once or twice. I was walking for an hour probably to find my seat, and nobody knew how to direct me to my area. And I don't know if that's because the folks that were working kind of like the security area were volunteers. Like, I don't know if that's the regular Eagles staff. These could be people that were contracted in for this game specifically. So while everyone was helpful, nobody could really get me to my section. So I spent an hour walking around the stadium, lost. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, I enjoyed being and seeing a lot of things. Like, I enjoyed being there, but I would have preferred to be in my seat. And it's no knock on anyone in particular. Folks were willing to help. I just think they weren't trained or didn't know. I don't know, but I luckily managed to find my seat in time to watch the pre-game activities or the flyover from Army and Navy, but literally as I was walking into the stadium, paratroopers were falling out of the sky into the Lincoln Financial Stadium, into the link. And I'll post all this stuff on my website so you can see, but paratroopers from both the Army and Navy took their turns in paratrooping into the stadium, which is crazy because I've never ever experienced that. I don't think I've ever seen a paratrooper in my life personally, like being that close. It was thrilling. It was jaw dropping. There was one paratrooper, I think from the Navy side, where these two guys were linked together. They had their legs connected and they were free falling into the stadium, and it felt as if they were going to fall right on top of me. They were literally free falling down into the stadium, and then at the last minute they break off and they each kind of slide into the 50-yard line of Lincoln Financial Field. It was crazy. I mean, there was literally probably at least like five or more paratroopers from each side. I think the Navy went first, then the Army, and they all flew in, and there was one that flew in with a American flag kind of affixed to his foot. So, again, I'll put this all on my social media and on my websites for you to look at and see for yourself. But stuff like that, you're not going to get at a regular game. I mean, I'm sure the Super Bowl is amazing. I'm sure that's a great experience, something that potentially could be on a bucket list type thing. But to experience the Army-Navy game, this felt like the Super Bowl of college football. Like, this felt special. You could feel the energy. You could feel people being so hype and excited for this. And honestly, it was something I feel as if like I should have been doing this sooner. I cannot believe I waited this long, 36 years, to attend my first Army-Navy game. And the only reason I went this year is because of the fact that they won't be back in Philly for 5 years, which seems like a long time, and it just makes me nervous because I don't know what I'll be doing, where I'll be in 5 years. I'm going to pull the plug right now, pull the trigger on it. I don't really ever spend on myself, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend some money and get a nice seat and go to the Army-Navy game, experience it up close, which was unreal. Just the speed of the game being that close is just, it's mind-blowing how fast these guys are, how competitive they are, how athletic they are, honestly. And so that was an amazing experience. Some of the people that I saw at the Army-Navy game, I saw Caitlin Collins, I think that's how you say her name, the CNN daytime host now with Don Lemon. Caitlin Collins, she was a White House correspondent for CNN for such a long time, for a few years, I want to say, and then she just got this call to be on the morning show with Don Lemon on CNN. I believe she went to Alabama. I know she was a big college football fan, if I remember correctly. So I saw her walking along the back of the end zone at one point. She had I think her family was probably with her, family members. So that was cool to see her there. Also saw, who else? Mark Wahlberg was there. I didn't actually get a chance to cut up with Mark Wahlberg, but with the seats that I purchased, I also had access to like an indoor area where I could eat food and warm up and get drinks and whatnot. So that was pretty dope. If you have the means to get that seat, I would recommend it. But Mark Wahlberg walked through there, and apparently the folks that were sitting next to me had a chance to take a picture with him. He was very nice, very gracious in doing that, taking pictures with folks. It was cool because Mark Wahlberg does a lot for military veterans, and so they were honoring him at the Army-Navy game, and so I think he went out onto the field like preseason or pre-game rather to accept some sort of award, I think it was. I think I heard that correctly. So Mark Wahlberg was in the house. I think the woman who was in Walking Dead, her name was Andrea. I thought I saw her in the back of the end zone as well. I saw a lot of dignitaries with the armed services present in the game. Who else? I thought I saw somebody else. I saw Rick Neuheisel at the game as well. I mean, there was a bunch of people just walking to and fro in the back of the end zone during breaks and whatnot. But you could feel the weight of the moment of being at the Army-Navy game. Like, it felt like all eyes were on that game. It felt like it was such a special event in our history to attend an Army-Navy game. I mean, dating back all the way 123 years ago that they played this game. It felt special. I just don't know how to describe it. You could just feel the magic in the air. You could feel the excitement, even though for the most part it was a pretty boring game. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, it was pretty slow going. The offenses really weren't moving that much. I think at halftime the score was 7-3. So that's not really exciting football. But in the second half, things got a little bit more exciting, and then certainly when it goes to overtime, that's special, because I did not know this, but the Army-Navy game has never gone to overtime, ever, until this last game that I watched. So I will always have like that piece of history with me, tied to me. The fact that I went to this game and it went to overtime for the first time ever, I will never forget that. I will always remember that. Army pulled it off, and they got the win 2017, but there were some exciting moments where Navy had some long runs. I recorded that, just being in witness to that, to the witness of what makes an Army-Navy game so special, and just the rivalry. I mean, it's something that I wish I could go to every year, if I'm being honest. Like, it was that special, and I'd recommend it. I mean, if it's on your list, hit it up, because you will not be disappointed. It truly is like the Super Bowl of college football. It's America's game, is what they call it. So I had a blast. The people sitting next to me were really, really cool. Young family from New Jersey. They had 3 little girls next to them, little cuties. They were on TV a bunch, and they had a blast. And at one point, there was a senior enlisted advisor who walked back in the end zone, and his name was Ramon Colon Lopez, who is a senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he walked by and he gave these little girls this like heavy coin. It's like a commemorative coin. It was beautiful. I took a picture of it. I'll put it on my social media for you all to see. But that was a special little token that he was giving out. I don't think he was giving out to everybody. And these little cuties got this coin from this gentleman. And on the front of it, it said, amateurs train until they get it right. Professionals train until they cannot get it wrong. So at the top, it said amateurs train until they get it right. On the bottom of the coin, it said professionals train until they cannot get it wrong. And it has all of the branches of the armed services on the front of the coin. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And the guy next to me who was rooting for the Army, he said that he's like the highest enlisted advisor in the military. I might be getting that wrong, but like he's the chairman to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, senior enlisted advisor. So he's pretty high up there in the military world. So that was pretty cool. It was a blast. I had a fun time. If you've got any questions about the Army-Navy game, please feel free to hit me up. I'll post everything on my website so you can see all the pictures and videos from that day. Of course, in the beginning, with the paratroopers coming down, and then you had the Blue Angels flew over as well, and you also had just these huge helicopters flying overhead as well for Army. It was jaw-dropping just being in the stadium for that game. And I cannot wait to go again, not next year, but I can't wait to go sometime in the future. If I'm still here in Philly, I definitely will try to hit it up the next time it gets here in like 5 years. But so you know, I'll tell you where the Army-Navy game is going for the next 5 years, so that if you have an opportunity to cross it off your bucket list, maybe it's something that you can look into. And maybe if you need a gift idea for that special person who is a college football fan, it could be a ticket that could really change their whole college football experience. I mean, it changed everything for me. I cannot imagine a game or an event that will top what I felt and what I saw at the Army-Navy game. It was truly that special. I wish College Game Day had been there. I know they typically go every year. It would have been cool for them to be there and to experience that. But I know they do a lot with the Heisman Trophy ceremony, so they probably couldn't logistically get from Philly to New York in enough time to get set up for that ceremony. But nonetheless, it was still a very special day. The Army-Navy game, if you are interested, the next few locations for the Army-Navy game will be played in 2023. They will be playing the Army-Navy game in Boston at Gillette Stadium, which is in Foxborough, Massachusetts, on December 9th, 2023. And then in 2024, the game will be at FedEx Field in Washington, D.C., which is in Landover, Maryland, December 14th. Then in 2025, the game will be played in Baltimore, Maryland, at M&T Bank Stadium on December 13th in 2025. And then in 2026, New York City will host this Army-Navy game at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey on December 11th. So the 2023 Army-Navy game will be the first held in the Boston area and comes on the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party and the 225th anniversary of the maiden voyage of the USS Constitution, which is the world's oldest commissioned warship afloat. The rivalry returns to FedEx Field in Washington, D.C. the following year for only the second time. Navy beat Army 27-21 at the home of the then Washington Skins in 2011. So it's this game is typically played in Philadelphia. Philly has been the host the most in the series, but it has traveled. It will remain in the East Coast for the next 5-6 years, but for the next 4 years, it will be kind of moving around in Massachusetts and then in Maryland and then New York. Philadelphia hosted the contest for the 90th time on December 10th of this year, and we won't see it again until 2027. Glad I could cross it off the list. It was fun. It was an amazing experience. I hope you get a chance to do it as well. And I thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for listening to it. I just wanted to put out an episode as we headed into the holiday season here. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Hope you all stay safe, healthy, and sane. Don't drink and drive. And I hope you enjoy watching college football this bowl season. College football playoffs are coming up here fairly soon, but we still got a little bit of time. Got some games in between that time. But thank you so much for downloading this episode. Hope you guys have a good holiday season. And I look forward to talking to you in the near future. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for listening to the CherryPickin Podcast. Take care, everybody. Peace. Thank you again for tuning into my CherryPickin Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe to my show and drop me a rating on Apple Podcasts. All of my digital content can be found at the website CherryPickinSports.com. And if you are looking to interact with me via social media, my Twitter handle is @Cherry_Pickin. That's PICKIN. On my Twitter, you'll also find a link to my blog where I post my weekly college football predictions and analysis. I can also be reached via email at cherrypickinsports@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out to me regarding what you like about this podcast or about what content you'd like to hear more of on future episodes. I sincerely thank you for your support, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Take care.